but never really had the chance to like talk about the actual film itself. So I thought this was a good way to like actually celebrate and talk about this movie 10 years after the fact.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
Yeah. So this kind of does represent a new beginning for Godzilla. It did kick off the Reiwa period, which consists of these beautiful Godzilla designs here. And just for me personally, Shin Godzilla means a lot to me, not only because I worked on it, but because it sort of combined two of my big hyperfixations, where it's Godzilla and Evangelion kind of together. So that really generated my interest. Woo, they're good. But this was directed by Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi, who are famously the two co-creators of Evangelion, and they co-directed the film with Anno and Higuchi both working on set, and Katsuro Inoue is the tokusatsu director on the film. So this kind of ushered in sort of a new era.
Yeah,
where
it's a new beginning for Godzilla, and remember at this point there hadn't been a new Toho-made Godzilla film in like 12 years.
Right.
And so, yeah, and it's also the first film where Godzilla is 100% CGI.
Yes, yes. And also I feel like it kickstarted this whole trend of like, we're gonna reinvent Godzilla in a new way, where it seems that every Toho project was doing something radically different with the character, where whether it was making him a giant plant or making him evolve into like a weird theoretical physics kind of way in singular points. So Toho just went kind of nuts, which I really appreciate.
It really did. The Reiwa era just...
Woo!
The Reiwa era went really wild with Godzilla. They did so many new things with him. Like Shin Godzilla kind of set the tone for that. There's always a lot of like heavy themes and like post-apocalyptic atmospheres in some of these films, but definitely a lot of heavy themes.
It just asks a show of hands, like who watched the movie back in 2016? Oh, so it's okay, cool. I was very curious. Okay, cool. Yeah. So before we get into some of the nitty gritty of it, it's origami, get it? Just wanted to. Do you want to start this positivity sandwich?
Yes, the positivity sandwich. So,
I wasn't aware of this concept until she told me this.
Okay, so if you don't know what a positivity sandwich is, I stole it from a podcast that no longer exists. But anyway, so we're going to say something that we like about the film, something that we feel like could have been done a little better, and then end it with something else positive. So for me, something positive that I liked is that I like that, again, like we were just talking about, that Toho does something new with Godzilla. He's doing something like completely new. Like this is the first time where Godzilla, like we see him like evolving, right? And he has new abilities, which I'm not a huge fan of the abilities, but you know, I do like that they tried something new, right?
Yeah. And speaking on the evolution part, it's so funny to hear that Toho was not okay with that idea until Bandai stepped in. They were like, we could make 3 or 4 toys. It's like great. Like, shout out to Bandai for that. That's great. Yeah.
W Bandai.
Yeah. For me, I'm very much a fan of this kind of depiction of Godzilla, where he feels, or it's not really he or she in this, but this organism feels like this unknowable being of unimaginable destructive power, and it really put the god in Godzilla, where he felt like mythic and larger than life, and there was almost like a apocalyptic sort of tone to that version of him, which I super appreciated. I guess one element of the film that I think could have been improved on is, and this isn't sadly anything that they could do, but I think some of the English in the film is a little bit worded a little awkwardly, as it is a foreign film. It's nothing new, and also I think it's like, I saw it as kind of revenge for like a lot of Hollywood movies having like fake Japanese in the movie, so this was like, like I got you guys. But yeah, I think that was a room that could have improved on. Some of the like the American actors, the lines aren't as like nuanced as Japanese lines, but again, that's kind of like a translation thing, so that's hard to manage. But yeah, I think overall, like after these 10 years, it has maintained legacy for so long, and it has staying power, which I think is it says a lot about the storytelling and the filmmaking aspects of the movie. So I think that's it's great to look back on.
It is, and one thing that I feel like could have been done a little better, but I don't know if it can be counted as a corrective because it also kind of sort of works in the film's favor. The characters are a little underdeveloped, I feel
Right,
like.
yeah.
Yeah, like we know Yaguchi wants to be prime minister someday, and Kayako, right?
Yeah, Kayako and Paris.
Yeah, she wants to be president.
President. Which is
That's-
crazy, by the way.
Well, okay.
At like late 30s, like that's pretty wild to be president at late 30s. But
Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, so that's all we really know about them, and I would have appreciated like a mentor-student relationship with Yaguchi and the prime minister, like before
That's
he
fair.
dies. I feel like I would have had like, you know, how when he dies, I would have had more of an impact if there was like more of a relationship there. But yeah, we don't really get to know any of the other characters. Like, we got like this guy in a suit, that guy, another guy in a suit, that guy with a towel the whole time, that girl who doesn't smell till the end. And then, but then again, I mean, like I said, it kind of works in the film's favor because it makes it more realistic. Because who's sitting around getting to know each other when there's an unprecedented crisis happening?
yeah,
So
thank you for
that's-
bringing that up. 'Cause I actually I super dig that element of the film. And have any of you guys seen Shinji Higuchi's Bullet Train Explosion?
Yeah, it's either.
Yeah. Okay. That also has like the exact similar vibe, except on a bullet train, where it's not about like character development per se, but it's about like a character situational storytelling, where it's not about development, but it's about the crisis that's happening in front of them. So that was such a unique kind of storytelling tactic that I haven't really seen before. So I really dug that aspect of it, and we'll dig into some more topics here. And the next one that we'd like to discuss is Godzilla himself and the VFX that brought Godzilla to life. Do you want to?
Yeah, it's nice to see my sleep paralysis demon got his own movie.
Well, he's so cute. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, you have your own thing. Yeah, I feel like this is the most creepiest demon-looking
For sure,
Godzilla.
for sure.
With the zombie-like features and the jagged teeth and everything. I used to be scared of Godzilla as a kid, and if I had seen this as a kid, it would have given me nightmares.
Yeah, you would have ran to the door. No, I remember. I'll just say this brief anecdote, but like I remember when the Toho staff told me like, "Hey, Godzilla's here," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, do you mean the suit actor? Do you mean like the suit? What are we talking about? And I wasn't aware that it was an animatronic until I saw it, and they brought me down to the studio, and I saw this red animatronic that looks like that, and I just kind of froze for a second. Like I couldn't believe that this is what Godzilla looked like, and in a positive way. And I think this does harken back to Honda's vision for Godzilla, where he did want the Godzilla to evoke the radiation scars of the burn victims. So it does really evoke that classic Godzilla design, where like through silhouette, it is unmistakably Godzilla, but it does have its own very unique, very striking sort of visual feature to it, which I really appreciate. And the VFX for the time were like pretty stellar. I think like for the most part, like 10 years looking back on it, it's like I've seen Hollywood movies in 2016 that look a little more dated now than Shin Godzilla. So shouts out to Shirogumi, who also did the -1 effects also. Those guys are really, that Oscar win was much deserved. Much deserved Oscar win for -1. But they did stellar work, and I was curious because I worked with the animatronic on set, and then I later heard it was going to be used. So I was wondering like what he was going to look like in the actual film, and then when you see it, you're like, wow, this looks like a puppet in a good way. It
Like
actually looks.
you can barely tell that it's CGI.
Yeah, and it actually looks like it's interacting with the environment. It looks like it's a man in a suit. The way like the legs kind of like wobble a little bit, like that. Those small details were so good. And later in the film, when he attacks Tokyo, there's a scene where all the tanks kind of come up and fire upon Godzilla. I did not know until after the movie was over and I saw the making book that all the tanks were CGI. Like I was not aware of that. So yeah, they don't. It's bring that up. It's right here. That the green image is a pre-render of the tanks firing at Godzilla. So it was a surprise to see how much of it was VFX because it does look very practical. So I'm very appreciative of the staff for taking VFX but using it in a very practical kind of sense.
Can I just say, it's a little bittersweet that this is kind of like officially Toho moving away from suitmation.
Right, yeah. And I was on the set and totally expecting man in a suit. It's like, that's exactly what I was kind of envisioning when I was like flying over there. And then when I realized it was going to be like this new wave, I was so, not like heartbroken, but it was like, oh man, like time is really, things are changing. But I think what the film makes up for lacking as a practical Godzilla is they did a lot of the practical miniature effects for like destruction scenes. They built that model of Tokyo Station and scanned it in CGI to make it look like it's a practical set. So they did do everything they can to make the film as like tokusatsu in spirit as they possibly could. So I really hats off to them. And through these segments here, I do want to throw it to you guys, like, and hear your thoughts on the Godzilla design or VFX. Like, just I just want to hear. Yeah, go ahead.
I like how Amano knows his military stuff. Like, that's a designation.
Word.
Apache helicopter is like designation or like the Type A tanks, and you can see the photo in the back, the tank photos. You can see the individual rivets and like the armor plating. I love that.
Yeah, he really is a stickler with like technology and military. Yeah, if you watch Evangelion, you know this guy's obsessed with that stuff. Yeah.
It's not really a new thing, but I think that's a Reiwa scene.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Okay. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Actually, yeah, let's talk about that. It's probably my favorite sequence in a Godzilla film that's not in the '54 film. It's probably the sequence that represents, I think, Godzilla to me the most. It's like the destructive capabilities, and it's the fact that he like blew up the Prime Minister and his entire cabinet in like one sweep. I was in disbelief in the theater that in a Godzilla movie, Godzilla killed the Prime Minister of Japan, like in the film. And it's a super politically charged moment, but that whole sequence is such a operatic nightmare fuel moment where the colors and the music, and we'll get to the music in a sec, but it really envelops the scene. And haven't you guys seen the black and white version of this? The orthochromatic?
Yeah.
Okay, check that out because it takes away the beauty of that scene, but it gives it like a more realistic, like nightmarish kind of feel where like it looks like somebody took this footage on like a 50s or 60s camera and is now like showing it. Like it looks so horrific. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that scene.
It's so, I love that scene. That's definitely my favorite, like, first Godzilla Atomic Breath scene. And again, we'll talk about the music in a minute, but it just fits so perfectly.
It's so beautiful, that scene. And you after. Yeah.
One thing that I kind of appreciate is despite how, okay. One thing that I kind of appreciate is despite how it's held behind him, I really appreciate the length of Shin Godzilla's tail and how that kind of picked out from Shred with Ultima and everything.
Yeah.
All these long tailed Godzillas.
That's another new thing they did.
Yeah, let me tell you how hard it is to fit a Shin Godzilla toy in a suitcase because of that tail.
I know.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
But I brought that with me.
Yeah, I brought it from Japan and it was like horrible. I was like, how do I pack this thing in the
You
suitcase?
need a whole different suitcase just for that.
Yeah. That tail is so. And like I said, I love that it just sways behind him, just kind of in a super eerie, almost cat-like sort of movement. And there's like a mouth kind of at the end of the tail with like human teeth on it. It's such a weird design. Yeah, big bit of that. Yeah.
It's funny that you guys mentioned the.
That isn't a tail, it's a hatchery.
CGI is so good that it looks like a man in a suit because I remember watching a movie with my mother-in-law.
I mean, it is.
He was like, oh yeah, the man in the suit there looks pretty good. And I'm like, oh, wow.
That's a compliment right there.
Plot twist in CGI.
Yeah,
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went on that
Nice.
tour, and we saw it in 4D, which was kind of interesting.
That was crazy in 4D, yeah.
Getting jostled everywhere and sprayed with water.
Were you able to understand it?
I wasn't, there were no subtitles.
Yeah, I was like, damn, because even me, like, as a Japanese speaker, I was like, what the hell are these guys saying to have the movie? And apparently, a lot of the Japanese audience, why it became such a phenomenon is they went back to go see it to understand it more. Because, like, dialogue just flies at you, like, constantly, and, like, at rapid fire, like, social network kind of speeds.
Yeah.
So, I was curious to hear your experience about that. So, yeah, that must have been quite...
It made it more exciting, honestly.
That's true, yeah.
And let's see, I know one of our tour guides said that actually the rapid fire, lots of scenes of long dialogue, that's more realistic to Japanese folks.
For sure, yeah.
So that was kind of interesting, and thanks for working on it.
Oh, well, well, thank you for watching it in Japan.
Of course,
Yeah.
and I got that one really special Blu-ray.
Oh, nice.
You got some hands.
So we're going to move on to the next topic, but I do want to get to you guys. But just moving on real quick, we're going to talk about the score.
Yes.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah, Shiro Sugisu.
Musical genius.
Yeah, and this was a topic that you really wanted to talk about, so I want to give the floor to you for a sec. So please, I want to.
It's just,
Ow.
I mean, even like, just like throughout the film, like, even the music during the planning scenes, like,
Right.
it just gets more intense as the film goes on. And, you know, it starts off with do, and the guitar comes in, and just as, you know, the plot moves forward, the music gets more intense, and just adds to the film, I feel like.
Yeah, it has the most unique soundtrack in the Godzilla. Not the most, but I think like one of the most, including like Masaru Sato's scores. Like it has a very idiosyncratic sound, which is kind of uncommon in Godzilla. You don't hear a lot of like choirs in Godzilla all that much. It's used sporadically throughout the series, but not to the extent of how much Shiro Sugisu used it in Shin Godzilla, where a lot of the tracks do have a chorus.
I love the choir and the chorus. It just adds to like the haunting feel of like, it just.
What's your favorite track?
Ooh.
That's a hard question.
Why would you ask me that? Okay,
Who will know?
I mean, yeah.
that's a cool, no, that's a good one. Persecution of the Masses.
That's a great one.
That's
Black
awesome.
Angels.
Black Angels is a great one, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there's another track called, I believe it's called Death is No Option.
Yes, that's a great one. Nobody said Early Morning in Tokyo? Damn. Y'all don't like the jazz? Come on. The decisive battle was used for the meeting scene, so that was a super cool thing. And just to speak on who will know, it's so cool to have a scene of Godzilla that's technically like told through Godzilla's perspective through the music. Like that was such a unique piece that I haven't felt that emotional about Godzilla in a Godzilla scene maybe since like Destroya for the Requiem theme, because it's I'm bringing up trauma here, folks. But yeah, it was such a unique feeling to sort of experience Godzilla's pain through the music, and that's not something that we see a lot in the series.
And it complements the visuals of that scene so well.
Yes, agreed.
Because they're at this point, they're like attacking him with like bombs and stuff, and he just kind of like freaks out.
Right. Yeah, that whole sequence is fantastic. Anyone have any thoughts on the music? I saw some hands earlier, but yeah, on YouTube here, yeah.
I like the fact that it's kind of funny that Eva is now kind of considered canon in Godzilla because of the music, like the early morning soundtrack, and what was that one track? The Attack soundtrack, where it's like all the military vehicles come by.
I think so, but also Ava is canon in Shin Godzilla because there's a scene.
Oh yeah, the Oscar Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, there's like a scene where they go through Twitter and the Japanese people are like reacting to the radioactivity,
Yeah, it's like-
and one of them is like a Baka Shinji. Like,
Yeah, Baka Shinji.
Yeah, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I guess
Yeah.
Ava exists here.
And now I can't. Now every time I think they do the live streams for like Tokyo events, you can hear that soundtrack every time.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Put your hands up. Hi.
I saw your hand there. Yeah.
tweets.
I
and
personally
let
think
them
it does a really good job, even like outside of who
Yeah, like
like season matches,
it's like
portraying the tone of what the humans are feeling. Like if you go from Black Angels to 501, which is the track directly after it, when the plan isn't working and he's
Right.
not stopping.
Yeah.
The tone of 501 is so desperate and like obviously Black Angels is super dramatic, but it's dramatic in like almost a triumphant way. And then
Right.
it slowly swells and morphs into this almost like horrific, like this isn't working, what the hell do we do?
Mhm.
And how do we stop it? And I think it's really good.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. Shout out to that. Yeah. I saw another hand at some point.
There's one right there.
In the back there. There's a hand in the back.
Oh, it just went down. Oh, there we go. Oh, wait.
You gotta keep your hand
There it is back there.
up. Can't see your hand. Stick it up to the sky.
Shin Evangelion when?
Oh, what was that?
Shin Evangelion when?
I mean, we technically do have Shin Godzilla. It's
Yeah,
twice
one.
upon a time, but yeah, it would be cool to see him kind of do a live action Eva. But I'm happy with how he's concluded the series, and it seems like it's moving into another reboot. So I think Anno is kind of like good where he is. I think it's cool. Yeah.
Stick your hand up.
There's one back. Sorry, we'll get to you in the next one.
I like the Godzilla music because of how it just resembles. Like, it resembles how the fact that he didn't actually born like this, just is. I just feel like what are they gonna do about, like, with when it ran around like, trying to hurt people?
Right.
It's like, what are we gonna do about it?
Oh, sorry.
We
I
broke
think the mic was cutting off at
We broke up.
the end there.
He doesn't mean to destroy things, but what are we gonna do about it? What do you think of Godzilla?
Right. And I think that's it's the I'm paraphrasing Honda's quote, but it's like the tragedy of monsters. They're like too big, and they cause destruction, regardless of their being. So I think Anno and Higuchi did everything to really honor that original Honda vision, where this is a creature of destruction. Like, this is not like a feeling animal that is trying to escape or like cause a ruckus. Like, this is
He's just going for a walk.
yeah, it's going for a walk. It's
Little just getting his way.
getting his way. It's this godlike creature that like just doesn't have any affection for us and doesn't even notice humanity at all. It just seems to just walk. So that was always an interesting part of it. And like, speaking of his destruction path, I just want to get into this topic point where the film is very politically charged, and everything that Godzilla does in the film has a lot of deep relevancy in terms of like what in relation to Japan at the time, especially with the Fukushima disaster and the tsunami that hit. Obviously, there's a lot of visual references to it, but just thinking about it 10 years later, I did see it. Who of you guys saw it in theaters last year when it was re-released?
Me?
You guys, yeah. Technology.
I went with Ray.
No, technology, what?
But yeah.
The AI is rising up, everyone run!
Sorry. Seeing it again though last year, after us surviving through the COVID pandemic and now with this current presidency, it felt like it did feel kind of more eerie watching it now than in 2016, where I didn't really feel the global ramifications of the film. And obviously Shin Godzilla was very targeted to the Japanese audience, and that's why Japan was so in love with the film, because they felt connected to that story and it's speaking about their trauma. But it didn't speak too much on like the global trauma of what happened. But now with like COVID-19, the film is about like the government not taking action soon enough, which leads Godzilla to then cause more havoc. And that kind of parallels to what happened in 2020 when the world governments were not prepared enough, or not prepared enough to to handle a pandemic. And that, like, rewatching Shin Godzilla, it felt like Godzilla in the film could also now be like a parable to the COVID-19 virus, where it's like, if you don't handle the thing early on and you let government bureaucracy just kind of block you from making change or helping people. It creates more chaos.
Yeah, this film really illustrates how governments kind of put up with a lot of red tape and like anyone who kind of thinks outside the box, like, hey, maybe this is what's going on, and then they're like, no, that can't be it. That's not the solution that's not the explanation that we're used to.
Right.
But then that ends up being, the thing that's going on. So I feel like this film does a good job of illustrating that. And it's also worth noting that the solution came from the civilians and not the government.
Right. Yeah, and that's a very important key aspect of it is that it was like I'm misquoting, it was like the lone wolves, like the pain in the asses in the government bureaucracy. It's those guys who end up saving the day and not the Japanese government. And that is, I think, the crucial statement for Hideaki Anno as the screenwriter is that he, and throughout his other works, he has been very critical of Japan for Evangelion and kind of get pieces of that as well. But he was really forward thinking in how he wrote Shin Godzilla as a parallel to 311, but it feels very nuanced and not just like government bad or like it has a lot to say about cooperation and mutual respect and readiness, in times of crisis. And I think nowadays in 2026, I think we can maybe learn a thing or two from this because where we are in this country right now, it's a little hard to see where we're going in the future with Mr. Great Man in the White House. So, great man. I'm the greatest man. No. But yeah, basically, it really is just.
Save that for the improv.
But yeah, it really does feel like in this age now, watching the film is so terrifying, not for Japanese people only, but I think for a global audience, that because we don't know how our countries individually operate, how do we ready ourselves for disaster, and I think Shin Godzilla as a film really does dive into that aspect where it really is not only a critique of Japanese government, but also a way to extend an olive branch to the Japanese people. Because at the end, it really is about hope. And I really appreciate that about the film because the film is very, I don't want to say dark, but it is very serious. It does get very somber at times. There's talks of a potential third nuclear strike on Japan, which is a very touchy topic. And even they even say even if it was New York, they would drop the atom bomb. So it's very somber. But I'm so appreciative that at the very end, it does leave you on a message of hope. That there is hope for the people as long as we kind of collaborate.
You and I saw very different ending to that movie.
If I'm not mistaken, at the end they say something along the lines of learning to coexist with Godzilla.
Yes. And that Japan is like a scrap and build country, and as long as the people can kind of come together. And it ends kind of before the final scene at that rooftop. It ends with just footage of the survivors in that refugee area, and that is so beautiful to me. It's not that it's the government winning; it's the Japanese people that win, and I think that's a strong message, especially for today. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I can say definitely connected with the Japanese audience, especially to the point where it won Best Picture in Japan in 2017.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting cultural moment for Japan, definitely. I'd love to hear what you guys think of its relevancy today. I saw his hand go up first.
Yeah,
Just shut up real quick.
I did not have an argument with that, but thank you. Hey, honestly, I don't get it.
Okay.
Just one, two-part thing. One is that final shot of the tail and all the skeletons on it is actually one of my favorite.
That's a great one.
And that one is that was a metaphor for what happened with bombing, basically. It's a memorial, basically. Well, using a memorial for this, but
I'm not sure specifically. I'm not. I read the script, and in the script, the first script that I read, which my mother translated for me because I cannot read or write Japanese. But she read the whole script for me, and at the end, I believe in the first version that I read, the creatures were supposed to come from his back, and not the tail.
Kind of like a code in some ways.
Yeah.
Some of those codes, where they don't have the back.
Exactly. So I don't exactly, and to answer your question, I don't exactly know what the specific metaphor was, because even in the script, it's very vague. Like, it just ends with a shot of humanoid creatures like emerging from his back, but there isn't really much beyond that. But I think it can mean a lot of things, because it's obviously they're humanoid creatures, so it could represent the people who have been who had their lives taken away from radioactive material or destruction. It could be the people who lost their lives on 3/11 or Fukushima, or just the general pain that like humanity feels that that's coursing through Godzilla's body. To be honest, I don't know. I like the open-endedness of it, but I'm sorry I can't like answer your question clearly. But yeah, I think it has a lot of meanings behind it, and I think it's up to audience interpretation as to what exactly it is.
The second thing I was wanted to ask, a more fun one.
Mhm.
It's also for everybody in this room as well. Have you done the zip line through Shin Godzilla's mouth?
You have no idea how badly I want to do that. You have no idea.
I'm too much of a pussy.
I'm not brave enough to do it.
I'm not ready.
Have you done
I
it?
want to, I want to.
You want to?
Go ahead,
Okay.
straight up so we can
Who
see
has
it.
done it? How was it?
Scary.
Scary.
So.
Yeah.
Thank you. In kind of a related question, you said that the ending to Shin Godzilla is very hopeful, which I would agree with up until the final shot.
Yeah. It goes back to darkness.
Which is probably one of the scariest single moments in the entire franchise.
Yes.
How does
Almost like it was done by the
that
Evangelion
moment
people.
reconcile with the tone of the rest of the ending?
So I think this really is like, if you look at Hideaki Anno's works, especially if you look at, I'll use End of Evangelion as an example. That film technically ends on a hopeful note where Shinji accepts humanity and accepts human connection, and that he accepts that even if you are hurt or betrayed, it's important to have those people around you. And then it ends with him strangling Asuka. He has this very unique skill that he's able to combine hopeful messages with his sort of like very unique, idiosyncratic, dark sort of edge to it. But I think Anno is a hopeful filmmaker because a lot of his movies and TV shows are characters who need to embrace hope. And I think even though the ending, the final shot of the film leaves you on like a, oh my god, like what kind of feeling in the theater? Like I remember on opening night here, it was just silent, like in the movie theater. Yeah, I think it's his strange like tiptoe tightrope balancing act between hope and like darkness, I guess. So I think despair. Thank you. So I think he still has the hopeful message, but I think he does want to like give you that like Anno-ism, I guess. Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We got 10 minutes. So we're gonna do 5 more minutes of questions. So we'll go right here. Yeah.
I was wondering if there's a cultural context or some kind of backstory for Goro Maki. I always wondered about that character.
Yeah, that's a character that still is a mystery to me as well. Obviously, it's like intentionally designed to be sort of like an unraveled mystery where like you don't know of his presence. But culturally, I understood from the first scene of like the found footage body cam, I guess, where you see his shoes are placed together, which means it's most likely a sign of suicide for the Japanese people. And then he worked in the U.S. as a scientist and then was kicked out, I believe. And then he has a hatred for radiation because of what it did to his wife. Yes, I'm correct. So I think he represents the Japanese conscious of like their feelings of radioactivity or of radioactive materials, and I think it's a very important through line in Shin. But to answer your question, it's like I don't have like too much context of like who or what he was doing, but there was a brief hint in the movie where they're looking at Goromaki's work, and then Yaguchi says something like, what was he intending on doing? And then it cuts to a shot of Godzilla's tail, and the mouth just kind of opens a little bit. I have no idea what that means to this day, but in my personal headcanon, I feel like something of Goromaki, whether spiritual or biological, is, I think, inside of Godzilla. I think that's just my own personal headcanon, but I don't know officially. See some hands back here. I'm gonna get. You can just give the mic to anyone, whoever's nearby. Let's just go random, speed around this.
I'm gonna lift my hand up.
How's it going? Hello? Hello? Okay. Well, I agree there is some kind of, jovial, like, we survived kind of a thing. Once again, you go back to that last scene, it's like, you survived? Congratulations, you avoided something way, way worse by the skin of your teeth. Uh-oh. It's this, oh no. Uh-oh. The AI has risen up again.
Oh no.
And also, I love just throughout the whole movie, like, you see these horrible things like the river of blood from stage 3, and then the atomic breath from stage 4. These, like, you look at it and you're like, oh, this is like awful, and then you realize it's like this isn't him like malice thing. This is just physical reaction. This is like with stage 3. He's trying to breathe. It's just like it, and you get this like visceral, just like, oh, this is just awful.
I love the evolution stages because like you do see this being like suffer through this change. Like its body is changing, but like it almost can't like catch up to it. It's such an interesting take on the character, and it makes it more painful. So yeah, definitely, I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Where's the mic now? Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay.
So I just want to say, watching this movie, which I rewatched with my girlfriend a few days ago, we both work in government. She works for an agency that deals with a lot of daily problems. I worked for various elected officials throughout my lifetime. And the level of bureaucratic failure in the movie is probably downplayed, to be honest. It's a little too optimistic. Yes,
it's a strong word, sir.
It's but having people from different departments kind of vie for control of the issue for their own personal clout is 100% accurate.
Right.
Right, and everything that's done from the level of not wanting to take responsibility, because if the measure you take to fix the issue is incorrect, you're going to face political backlash, is also accurate.
It's passing the buck, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. You pass the buck until you can't anymore, until you're worried that the damage you're going to cause by doing that is worse than the damage you're going to cause by taking action. So everything in the movie, bureaucratically and politically, is accurate with a little bit of downplay.
Right.
I actually think that was the best part of the film, is to teach people how the government actually functions and how you end up with the level of incompetence in an action that we see on a daily basis. We never quite understand where it comes from.
That's actually great. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the government aspect is so uniquely, Shin, which is so interesting. And my cousin, I remember I brought my cousin to see it on his opening weekend, and my cousin, after the movie ended, he said the exact words, if you want to understand the Japanese government, just watch this movie. And it's like different departments and like going into different boardrooms, like all that stuff. And apparently they did reach out to some government workers for the script process. Ano interviewed a lot of government and military personnel to make sure that it's like almost entirely accurate. But I can see how it is more effective than actual government operations. But yeah, that was cool that you brought that up. Thank you so much. I think we have time for one last question.
I got the mic.
Does anyone? Oh, yeah.
Why you take it away from him?
You got the mic, right?
Why did you take it away
Sorry.
from him? Come on.
One of my favorite aspects about like film in general is like you always find something little to appreciate, like especially when like you let a film like marinate in your head and you like really think about it, like to kind of piggyback on some of the points that you were talking about with like the whole idea of Japan versus Godzilla. It's not just focusing on one main character, it's focusing on like Japan as a whole, which I thought was something really unique with the film. And I really appreciate it, especially with like Godzilla films nowadays. They're kind of like experimenting with new things while still keeping to the formula. And even like the scene with the atomic breath, like I have a buddy who really enjoys like this film overall, and he brought up a good point of how like Godzilla, when he's doing the atomic breath and roaring, he's not just roaring, he's just screaming.
In pain, yeah. Yeah, it's super cool, and thank you for bringing this up. It really is like, there's a lot of elements to it that make it feel unique, and 10 years later down the line, it really does feel like it's a very singular thing. So yeah, just to wrap up these thoughts, like just, I think after all this time, it still has relevancy today and has a lasting power to it. Can we bring the PowerPoint back up on the screen? Sorry. Before I end, I have 3 minutes left. I do want to do something a little fun with you guys, if possible. So, as I said before, I'm a filmmaker in New York City, and I'm currently working on a short film at the moment, and I would actually like to include your voices in the film. Could we do that?
I'll just sit here. Thanks for coming to the panel.
All right, so this film is a film set in a near future America. So there are some protest scenes in the film. So I'd like to get a bit of a crowd sound here. So when I do one, say no justice, no peace, and when I do two, I'm sorry. One is no justice and two is no peace. So when I do one, no justice, no peace. Okay, so we're gonna go and do that. Okay, so here we go. And no justice, no peace. One more time. No justice, no peace. Thank you. Okay, and now everyone get up. Everyone get up. Stompy. There'll be a little bit of exercise. Okay, so when I say stomp, all of you just in unison, just like that. Get in the groove of it? Yep. There we go. Awesome. And stop. There we go. And scream like Godzilla is here. And thank you all, guys. Thank you so much.